3 months.
Right, thank you, Luke. So today I'm going to be talking about building a customer first approach. First, starting off actually what this means, and then a few tips to help you get started on that complex journey to becoming customer first. In my last 6 years at NMPI, I probably get an email once a week about a customer first approach, whether it's questions like, how can I talk to my customers through all my different marketing channels? How can we show customers the right message? And how can our strategy be customer first? But to be honest, I've only got 10 minutes to talk, so I'm not going to be able to answer all of these questions today, and they all do differ by each industry to each client that we work with. But what I hope you get away with is a few tips to go back to the office today and ask some of these questions. So first of all, when I started putting my presentation together, I thought, what does a customer first approach actually mean? I think this means different things to different people. So I went on to Google and had a little look around. The first definition I came across was a strategy which businesses create their products, content and marketing campaigns so they serve their customers first and their organisation second. I think the first part of this definition is what actually most of us probably think a customer first approach is. You've got the right products, your campaigns are working really well, but the end part of this worried me slightly. If your organisation is coming second, how are you actually meant to be hitting your goals and your targets? Surely your business is going to fail. So this definition wasn't right for me. So I went back to Google and had another look. And I found this definition, which actually said we're doing customer first all wrong and we shouldn't actually be looking at the customer. So this was actually from Richard Branson himself. So it's saying that clients don't come first, it's actually the employees come first. And if you take care of your employees, they will take care of the clients. Which I think to a degree is a nice sentiment. It's something that I'm sure as employees ourselves, we all quite like. But actually, in terms of businesses, is this right? If you've got the best service in the world, actually, if nobody knows about it, again, is your business going to succeed? So I went back to the drawing board and thought of the one that you've all heard a million times before. Reaching your customers with the right message in the right place and at the right time. But this, in all honesty, is incredibly hard. How do you know what the right message is, the right place and the right time? James has already been through, we've got all those signals and yet he's still getting the wrong messaging. So I think because this is actually an individual persona, how do we know what that person's thinking in their head? So I decided I was going to give up on Google and I was actually going to write my own definition, which is guiding the customer through their journey with relevant content to deliver your desired action. I don't think you have to have the right message. I just don't think you want the wrong message. And to deliver your desired action, whether that be going onto your website, signing up to a newsletter, or actually making that conversion. So now hopefully I can give you a few tips and questions to try and deliver that customer first approach. And the first one, and what I think is the most important, is actually understanding your customer. We've all got a perception of who our customer is, but is that perception actually right? So looking at your customer. The first question that you should be looking at is, who is your demographic? We've had clients come to us in the past, in particular a sports retailer, thinking that their demographic was male, aged between kind of maybe 15 to 25, selling football kits. But actually, when we were looking at the data, it was females aged between 40 and 50. Clearly, their mums making the purchase. So your perception isn't always right. Secondly, what is their favourite brand or product? Are they only ever going to buy shirts from you? Do they have a favourite lipstick or nail varnish that they're always going to purchase? What is their price point? Do you know that they're actually only ever going to spend a certain amount with you? And when are they most likely to shop? Are they going to wait until payday every month? Will they only buy when there's a promotion running? All these things that you should be thinking about when looking at your customer. But it doesn't stop there. The customer is always going to change. So here's an example that I've taken from one of our retail clients from last Christmas. Typically, their customer base is around 35% male throughout the year. But actually, and I hate to say it, guys, but as you run up to Christmas, this massively changes. You're coming to delivery dates, and this all changes. If you can see, actually, on the last day of delivery, it reaches up to 50% because you can't wait. So you've got all this information about your customer, but also remember that it's going to change through these key periods. Second one is expanding your customer portfolio. So you've got your database, but most businesses out there want to grow. So how can you find new people in this market? So the first thing is actually thinking about who you want your customer to be. So looking at things kind of like, where are you currently under indexing within the market? Why isn't your demographic, your target demographic, shopping with you? And how are your competitors reaching this audience that you're not reaching? And how hard is it to change your business model to hit these customers? And I think the most important one for me is how much are these customers worth to you? We know on average that a new customer is worth 19% more than a returning customer. And so targets need to be reflected in this. We can't have the same ROI target hitting that new and returning customer. Third tip, reviewing your channels. So you've all seen examples of this sort of thing before. The customer journey is no longer simple. You're going from display to paid search to Facebook to an email, back to search again, and then direct. The customer journey is complex and we need to break down these silos. So I understand that the way that businesses are structured, sometimes it's hard for us to have control over all of these channels. But what's key here is communication. You need to make sure that your learnings and data sets are communicated all through this, because we could be telling one message through paid search and something totally different through display or Facebook. Tip 4 is be relevant. As I said, you don't have to be right all the time, just don't be wrong. So an example of this, if you think about what is their price point, if it's nothing above £100, show them products that they're actually going to buy that are in their price range. If you know your demographic is female, aged between 18 to 22, then give them that female-led messaging, and within that generation, typically they can't wait. They want next day delivery, so make sure that you're offering that to them and showing that message. And then finally, when are they most likely to shop? If you know that they're only going to shop when promotions are running, use that to your advantage and target them with that promotional messaging when they're running. So just to kind of like summarize those and to add a couple more. First of all, understanding your current customer. To me, this one is key. If you don't do this, you're never going to get a customer first approach. Second, expand your customer portfolio. Find out who you want your customer to be and why you're not currently targeting them. Review your channels, break down those silos and see it as one whole journey. Be relevant. You don't have to be right, as I say, just make sure it's not wrong. You're not showing James those skirts and skirts examples. Be agile. So the customer is always changing, the industry is always changing. If you think back a few years ago, Instagram didn't really exist, and now it's a key part of most people's strategy. So make sure that you're kind of working with that. And sixth point, think about the level of personalization. So I'm not saying don't be personal at all, just think enough that you're broad enough that you're still having kind of relevant messaging, but you can do this at scale as well. You can't have your campaigns going from 10 to 100. So I would just leave you with one final thing, and that's think about your own definition about customer first. This could just be splitting new and returning, or it could be building these different segments and targeting them in different ways. Thank you.